Hi everyone, I just wanted to welcome you guys to my channel. This is my first video in a very long time, and I just wanted to introduce myself because I have a bunch of new followers and a lot of people don't know my background. They just see my trades, they see the life that I live right now, but they don't know the struggles that I've been through. And I do want people to know that I am relatable. I'm not different than you. I'm not different than any of you. The only difference is that I have a lot of grit. A lot of things happen in my life that, I probably shouldn't even be here today. But I do believe that there is a reason why I started doing social media and why I started helping people with trading. A lot of you guys don't know, I'm Brazilian. I was born in Brazil and I was raised in Brazil until I was 17, I want to say 16, 17. I moved to the United States at that time. My mom used to live here and I actually wanted to spend more time with her. So at that point in time, I decided that I was going to finish high school and I actually got accepted into college. Once I got accepted into college, I decided that I did not want to go back anymore. And at that time, I was commuting about 2.5 hours to college. And I got into a car accident. So the only way that I had to get to college, I didn't have anymore. The whole PTSD that comes with it, because it was a very severe car accident. Like, I flipped my car on the highway like 4 times. When I tell you, like, I shouldn't be here, that car accident got me questioning my entire existence and why I survived that accident. Everybody stopped in all 4 lanes and they came to see if I was alive. And when I got out through the window, mind you, the car is upside down, right? They were shocked and they were like, well, you probably have some internal bleeding, so don't move. And then I got to the hospital, etc., etc. Long story short, I didn't know what to do with my life. And as if that wasn't enough, I decided that I was going to work until I had enough money to buy another car. So I got a second job and decided that I was going to work the entire summer, maybe half of the year, until I had enough money to be able to go back to college, right? That summer went by, and as soon as summer ended, I got into another car accident. This one wasn't like extremely bad, but it still totaled the car because of the frame. So that put me in a spiral. I got depressed and I was just lost. I did not know what to do with my life at that point. And I decided that I was going to join the military. I wanted to be able to make a difference in the world at that time. Maybe that would help me find a purpose in life, because at this point, I didn't know what else to do. So I joined the military and they also offer free college. So I was like, okay, this is one way out. I do 4 years in the military, they pay for college. While I'm in the military, I can also go to school and I get to travel places. So I was in the military on a helicopter squadron for about, I want to say 6-7 years. And the deciding moment I remember was when I got deployed to Italy. It was supposed to be probably the best deployment ever, and it wasn't. I didn't fit in. And I also realized that I had a lot of traumas and I used to let my trauma define me. And I really want you guys to understand that trauma is something that happens to you, but it's not your identity unless you let it become your identity. From that point on, I decided that I needed to do something different. I decided to finish my degree and they finally agreed to let me do it. That's another thing. The military has to approve for you to go to college while you're working, and not everybody does. So mine took years for them to approve that. When they finally approved, I decided that I was going to go back to doing pre-law. I was studying for the bar exam and I was just going to become a lawyer, maybe an immigration lawyer, help my community. And at that point, I found out about trading, I want to say maybe 6 months into being back into college. And mind you, I was struggling. I'm not a good student. And this is the shocking part, because when I found out about trading, I was actually just trying to network. I was just asking people what they did outside of the military, how did they transition, because I had a lot of people that got out. I was just trying to understand what was life gonna be like without a security blanket, because that's what the military is. And they try to put that in your head that if you stay in, you're gonna have a stable paycheck every 15 days. But you're also not gonna become fucking rich just doing that. But they make it seem like it's a gamble. But everybody lives their normal life with a regular job. Anyway, so I decided that I did want more for myself, and I started networking. I talked to friends. One of them actually gave me the idea of maybe you can buy some houses and get into real estate. And at that time, I was really about to do that. I was actually about to buy my second house in Florida and Airbnb it. I ended up actually purchasing a house in New Hampshire instead for my family to move into and for us to flip that property slowly right before I got out. I want to say maybe 6 months before I got out. I did find out that I had cancer, so they put me on a medical hold for another year. So on that medical hold, my surgery went well, but that was just another thing on top of everything else that had happened, right? I actually didn't tell anybody about it. I remember that I just wanted to keep it to myself. I wasn't feeling well mentally. I wasn't feeling well with my body, you know? And it was at that point that I decided that if I really wanted something different, I had to become somebody different. And I didn't know what exactly caused the cancer, right? But at that point, it was a choice that I knew that if I continued to smoke, drink, I was going out literally 6 days out of the week, drinking into 3 in the morning and going to work at 6. So I wasn't sleeping. I was working out, believe me or not, but I also wasn't eating properly, right? So it took a lot for me to go from being this person that didn't care about themselves, truly, because that's what happens. I realized that everything that I was doing was making me hate myself and my life. So I didn't care about anything. I didn't care if I lived or died. And I went from that to, if I want to be somebody better, what do I have to do in order to achieve that goal? And I realized that, it starts within. So I quit smoking, I quit drinking, I quit going out. I started to focus a lot on my health and my body. And once I started to work within, I started to realize that I also had a lot of traumas. And I really worked really hard to be able to overcome those things. Trauma is not something that defines you. Like, what is your purpose today? What is your purpose now? What are you doing with your life? And that was something that I had to figure out on my own. So when I found out I had cancer, a little bit after that, I found out about trading. And I knew that that was exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know anything about it, but as soon as I heard what it was, I actually had somebody hit me up about trading like a very long time ago. I didn't really understand it back then, and I did no research. So when I heard it this time, because I actually was asking for a sign of the universe of like, tell me what I'm supposed to do. And that just like happened. We just happened on a conversation. Some friends started to get me into it, and I decided to take that seriously. But with doing law school and learning how to trade, to me was like, I'm not that fucking smart, and I hate college. I hate like studying. So I dropped out of law school. I decided to dedicate at least a year to trading and see how that went. So I got another job because I was losing a shit ton of money, and I was using the income from that job, my second job, to pay for it, for all the losses. So I was using my own capital when I started. Like, prop firms were not a thing. I remember always trying to flip $100 into $1,000 in a week. Like, that was always my goal, and it was so stressful. I was up every night, trading London session, trading Asian session, trading crypto. Like, I was doing everything wrong. And my friends that told me to do all this stuff, they were so wrong. And I realized that the burnout that I was feeling was so real, and that was not sustainable. So I decided that I was going to start taking one trade a day. And then I found out about prop firms a year and a half in. And I was like, okay, $100,000. At that time, I didn't really understand prop firms either. They were brand new. So I was like, all right, let's do this. So I bought the account. It was $500. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, I have so many more opportunities to make more money with $500 than I did with my own capital, right? So that put me in such an ease mental state. And like I was saying, I was taking one trade a day. And back then I used to tell myself 1% win or lose, 1% win or lose. And every day at the New York Open, that's when I started trading US 30 only. I would place one trade. If I was up 1% for the day, I would stop. If I was down 1% for the day, I would stop. And I passed my first challenge right away, immediately. It was from that point that I decided that I needed to buy more accounts, and I maxed out the firm that I was with. And back then there was this firm that had a 500,000 account, and I went for it. I was trading all these accounts at the same time. I made my first 6 figures literally a day before my birthday. And I was so shocked and excited about it. I literally didn't know what to do with myself at that point. It was real. Like, all the stress that I was feeling, all the money that I lost, everything finally made sense. So on the first year that I was trading my live money, like I was saying, I literally was putting every penny from the second job. So that was $40,000. I literally was studying 10 to 12 hours a day. At work, I would study. Like, I didn't care. It was just something for me to do. And then I would spend nights awake fucking listening to ICT, going through all those damn videos, taking notes. I became the best student as well, because I realized that I was only a bad student because I didn't care about other subjects. When it comes to trading, I'm a great student because I'm actually interested in it. My birthday is in March, and that January I couldn't pay my mortgage. I actually had to borrow money. I borrowed money to pay for my mortgage because I miscalculated and I literally didn't have enough money to cover the month. And by March I made $100,000. So that flip, it was worth all the nights, all the times that I cried, all the pain that I went through, all the videos, all the countless hours of studying. I literally got a second job to afford trading. How many people would do that? I literally knew I was gonna lose money, but I was okay with being a student. I think that was the difference between me and other people, because I had grit. I didn't care. I told myself, this is going to work. There's no plan B. When you do not allow yourself to have a plan B, what happens is that you make that work. It doesn't matter what. And that was the time that I went full-time. I quit my job. I decided that I was going to be a full-time trader. I started running a business. I had clients. I was trading their accounts, and I did that for a very long time. I didn't want to teach because I didn't think that I was qualified, to be quite honest, because I fully didn't understand everything. So when people ask me questions, I didn't like that I didn't have the answer. I didn't know the answer. And I'm humble enough to say that just because I was making money didn't mean that I knew exactly what I was doing. I was figuring it out as I went. So it went from that to me finally understanding everything that I was doing, because I had to tighten up. I decided that I didn't want to manage clients' accounts anymore because it's already hard enough having to manage my own emotions, and having to manage other people's emotions on top of mine is just a nightmare. I can't handle my losses. They can't. I'm literally having to talk through a mental breakdown with a grown-ass man that lost $1,000 for the first time. And I'm over here like emotionless. Most of the time I lose $1,000 in a day, I'm over here like, oh, all right, moving on. It was just another day. Because that's what you have to do. You have to take it on the chin and come back the next day as if nothing fucking happened. That is how ruthless you have to be. It does not matter. Your feelings do not matter when it comes to trading. You have to trade your model, you have to trade your strategy, and you have to lock in. You have to figure out what works for you and do exactly that. It does not matter that this strategy works for somebody else. Well, does it work for you? Does it align with you? Does it work with what you're trying to accomplish in your personality? With all of that being said, going back to my story, when my journey with making content started, I went all in. I hired a bunch of people, thought everything was gonna go great. My trading was going good. And I wanna say about a couple months into it, I ended up losing my mom in a very tragic way. And I really haven't been ready to talk about that, especially on social media. That experience nearly destroyed me, because you don't have any other choice but to be strong. All I can say is that I grinded really hard. Every day I was working on myself. I would cry every 5 minutes, and whenever it was time to put a serious face on, I would. And I just cried in between. Nobody really saw me suffering per se. And I have a very good psychology, when not even just in trading, but like in life, that I understood that if I allowed myself to stay in bed and not do anything else, I wouldn't come back from that. So I forced myself to do even the smallest of things, which was going outside and walking. I got 2 therapists, actually, and a life coach, because I was lost. That destroyed me so deeply inside that it even ruined my relationship with money. Throughout my entire trading career, I never took a break into that point, because I knew that if I was going to trade with that mental state, I would probably just keep on losing money. So I made a decision that I had to stop. And I stopped for like about 6 months, I want to say. I didn't stop completely. Like, I was still like looking at the markets here and there. I was still watching trading videos, but I literally had to deal with life. And I was not ready for that part of life, that I had to be responsible over other people's belongings. I had to travel to make sure that everything was good, all the paperwork, all the pain, all the suffering. And I feel like I didn't have time to mourn properly. And I grieved. I grieved a lot. And I genuinely do not know how I survived that. I do give myself a lot of grace while going through that period. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was easy getting my psychology back together, because it wasn't. I literally did not care about money anymore. Money is not the most important thing in this world. It's a tool. It's a tool to give you freedom. And you need to understand that your life and everybody that cares about you is a lot more important than what money can buy. Trading is one of those things that is a skill that nobody can take away from you. It's just going to test you a lot. It's going to show you a reflection of who you truly are. And nobody can take that away from you. Even if you lose everything tomorrow. Even if you lose all your money. If you lose your house. If you lose your car. When you come into this journey, it's to better your life and of those around you. It's never about the money. And I just want everybody to know that. I made it through. It still sucks. Still hurts. I did go through all the stages of grief that there is. And I want to say that the only thing that keeps me pushing nowadays is the fact that I am doing what I love. I am back at trading. I'm being able to build a community. I'm being able to help people. And maybe bringing that light into the world actually can bring some fulfillment. Because I want to say the happiest I've been was paying my parents' bills. I couldn't have been happier that I was able to do that. And it wasn't a burden. It was truly the happiest moment in my life that I could support both of my parents. If I was able to go from somebody who smoked, drank, went out every single day, and literally had every excuse to not make it work. When you come to me and you tell me that the reason why you are not taking trading seriously is because you couldn't get enough sleep, you didn't have time to study, you just keep on coming up with excuses. And what is that doing for you aside from keeping you in the same exact place that you are? It wasn't until I started taking accountability for myself and for realizing that what I was doing was just not doing me any justice. It was not serving me. Yeah, getting drunk every weekend, going out and getting high and everything else. Oh yeah, that's fun. But like, is that it? Is that all the life is? And you want to come to me and say, Oh, I don't know why my psychology is cooked. Well, you're taking drugs that are altering your brain and your neurons, and also drinking. Everything that you do affects your brain. But if I was able to pull through it, if I was able to pull through everything that I had going on in life, I had all the excuses to quit. I had all the excuses to never trade again, to go back to a 9 to 5 and just have a normal life. But guess what? I didn't do that. I pushed through. I forced myself to start eating healthy. I forced myself to start going to the gym every day. Do you think that I wanted to wake up at 5 in the morning and go do that shit? No, I didn't. And I still don't. I hate it. Every second of it. Do I sleep well every single night? No, but I try to. I go to bed early. So for you to come up with excuses instead of finding ways to make this work is not doing you any service. I literally went through hell and back, and I'm still here today. And I want to say that majority of people that I know, they are successful. They do have a life story that gives them no other option but to be strong and survive. And I want to say, losing my mom was probably the worst pain that I've ever felt in my life. And if I was able to work through that pain, I can make it through anything in life now.